Welcome to the Soul Purpose Network. Today I'm going to be joined by my dear friend Sally in a moment, and we are going to talk about how to distinguish between when to say fuck it and when to create a different path or to find a different solution. So that is our focus today. We are working with the technology of Facebook Live. So I will chat for a moment until we can get her here live on the broadcast, which for those of you who are not familiar, that now you can do this. You can get your friends on live with you. Okay, so let's see who we have on with me. So anyway, I will do my best to keep you entertained while we get Sally on the broadcast. So I called up Sally at the last moment, and my intuition guided me to, I wanted to have this conversation today, and my intuition was like, call Sally and see if she's free. Because she is a wild woman soul sister of mine and a great person to talk about this with. So so that's what I have to say. And let's see. So we are working on getting her on the live broadcast. Sally, is that you? Are you here? Post in the comments so I know that we are getting there. I see there's one person on here live. So the adventure of getting technology to be our friend. All right, so that's the topic for today. What do you have to say about this topic? So Sally, if that's you, if you would post in the comments and let me know what's happening. I can see there's one person watching, but I can't see that it's you. Oh, you are here. Okay, so I am not sure if I can't add you from your page. There we go. And there we go. Okay, awesome. Invited you, so now the trick is to have you accept the invitation, and then you'll be on live with me. The adventures of technology. It's amazing. So that's the game that we're playing, is getting Sally on live broadcast so that we can chat about this. And we'd love to know your thoughts, whether you're watching on the replay. Let us know what you think about this topic. How do you know the difference between when to say fuck it and when to find a different path or a different solution? All right, come on, Facebook. Come on, come on, come on. Let's be our friend. Be our friend. And let Sally get on. Okay, here you are. Yay!
Hey, hi.
Hi. Okay, good.
You see my sign behind me?
Life is good. I can't see all of it. Life is good. It is wild, and it is sweet.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining me. I'm so happy that you're here.
Thanks for having me. I'm excited.
Yes. Well, you know, it's super fun to pop people's Facebook Live cherry.
Yeah. Now I'll know how to do it in the future.
Exactly. And it's, so we can chat about what was happening on your side later, because it's like the more that I can, you know, support people.
Yeah. Let's get to it. Fun stuff.
Yeah. So, but let's get right to the topic of how we distinguish when to say fuck it about a project, an idea, a relationship, whatever, and when to work through our resistance or our wounding or the blocks, or to find, you know, just basically when to chuck the idea, to jump ship, and when to find a different solution?
Well, for me, I have you helped me work through some things with my strong rebel archetype. I am prone to always say fuck it. Always say fuck it. And so, and I'll move on to something else as equally as adventurous and wonderful and wild. But the other thing that you taught me was to not to make those kind of decisions from a place of wounding. So even if you are going to say fuck it, you still need to process which archetype in your psyche that you're dealing with. And if it's the rebel and she just wants to get in her little camper trailer, asking for a friend if that's okay, get in her little camping trailer and take off across the country and not follow through on her business plan, is that okay? Yeah, it's totally okay. If it comes from a place of wisdom instead of a place of wounding.
Yes. I love it. And I totally agree that there is a time, like recently I said fuck it to something I was working on in my life where, I've been experimenting with different nutrition since I was super young because I had health challenges and allergies. So I've been experimenting with different ways of eating for many, many years. And I recently, this year I've been experimenting, especially with like healing my gut. And generally I'm really good about making small shifts. But then recently I made a radical shift. My body freaked out and totally disrupted my whole system. And then it was like, this isn't working, And so in that way, for me, the best thing for me to do was to fuck it and to start over and to go back to what was working for me before I put this confining container that didn't work on myself, right?
Yeah.
So for me, it wasn't coming from a place of wounding. It was like I was trying to force myself into changes that were happening too quickly, things that weren't working for my body, but the experts say blah, 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 blah. And it was just like, fuck it. I don't care what the expert says. This is the expert. Like this body knows what it wants.
Right.
So that for me was an example of like recently of just being like, fuck it. I'm going back to what I know is working. And then I'm going to make gradual shifts that my body likes and not listening to the experts. I mean, part of that is because I have been working on my nutrition for 30 years. So I'm pretty clear about when my body likes things and doesn't. But that was my experience recently of saying, fuck it. So do you have an example recently of choosing to say, fuck it from a place of wisdom and not of wounding?
Well, I'm learning some hard lessons right now because I can't just say fuck it and take off like I used to because I had an injury recently. So there's been a book that, there are projects that you just have the strong fuck it, I'm not going to do this. And then there's the self-sabotage, which is the same kind of fuck it, except it's just coming from a place of wounding and you're not conscious of it, right? Yeah. So that's not as overt. That's not as overt of a fuck it. Because I'm really good at saying fuck it, but I also sneak around sometimes and say, oh, yeah, I really want to do that. But then not sitting down, not taking the time to do what I need to do. So that's another way of saying fuck it. So recently, since I've been slowed down from my injury, I've been writing a lot, and I've really been learning a lot about myself and exploring some different things and learning different approaches to telling a story that I want to tell. So in a very subtle way, I was saying fuck it by not living in my integrity. It wasn't a strong, immediate, like chop it off kind of thing. It was more of a avoidance fuck it. We'll call it an avoidance fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I've taken that back on. So that was my decision once I started really connecting and writing and exploring the things I wanted to tell and the stories I wanted to tell. I realized how really important it was to me. So just slowing down. There has been I was starting a mountain biking company in Cuba. And I bought some bikes and took them down, had a tour last year, but it was very challenging because they don't allow you to bring in things from the States. You can't ship anything. You have to physically take it down there. And there was a lot of things that are really hard. And the Cuban people, a lot of them don't have any idea of how free market society works. So my partner was wanting to give away everything and didn't have a focus on making a profit, which I had an investment in it and I wanted to make a profit. Right. And then with the recent administration saying they're going to close down the border between the countries, I kept trying to think of ways I could make it work. And well, I don't have to live there, and he could just send me money through Florida. And I said, I'm going to have to let go of that dream. That's something that was really fun. It's a country I really love, but there are other things that speak to my heart that are much less difficult. And so I'm selling the bikes, and I'm still visiting Cuba. I was supposed to leave next week, but I'm going in December for the probably last time. And but I'm selling the bikes, and I'm just letting go of a dream. And I have a lot of strong Fukkits, but lately they seem to be a little more subtle, which I hope is a lean towards more health.
Yeah, and with the Cuban mountain biking project, like it sounds like you made that, like the way that you're speaking about it now anyway, is that you made that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like it was a hard choice. I know how passionate you are about that project and
Mm-hmm.
how hard it was to let it go, right? Or to let it transform and to be like, okay, there's all these obstacles, which is, that's the thing, because sometimes creating our dream, we are going to have obstacles. It's not going to be easy. So how do we distinguish when it's like, okay, I'm going to overcome this obstacle, or I'm going to work through this block or this wound, and
Mm-hmm.
when the best thing is to let it go?
And with relationships, I think that's really always the crux. The hardest thing is to know when to try harder and when to go. Yeah. And I think just like in a business, you have to have a mission statement. What do you love about yourself when you're in a relationship? And is that relationship providing that? And if it's not, it's time to either set some strong boundaries around it or say, fuck it, and go on. So that's one of the things, because there's so many emotions involved. But I've been working through a lot of that stuff in my life too, with relationships that aren't working, and I'm choosing to honor myself more and have people around me who support me and hold space for me, which is really important. And the definition of hold space, by the way, is to sit with someone and not invalidate any of their emotions, and know and convey that that they have the strength to make good decisions and to find the way themselves rather than trying to solve their problems for them. So.
Yes. Yeah, so, which is a gift to be able to do that. I mean, especially for those of us who have training in the healing arts or coaching, it's like we want to jump in and help someone. It's just like, okay, when is the time to trust that?
Right.
When, and I've learned definitely from making mistakes along the way of like trying to help someone that didn't ask for help, or offering unsolicited advice. And I've gotten a lot better at asking, are you interested in my perspective? Do you want a resource? And then honoring their request.
Yeah, that's really important, and sometimes really hard, because I'm a truth teller. I like to tell the truth, and people don't always want to hear the truth, and I have to. That's my boundary with myself, because not everybody wants to have the truth. That's a different different way of dealing and approaching the world. So
yeah, and I agree that it's, for me, and shifting my relationships, like what you were saying about when to know in relationships, one of the things that I use as my internal marker when in relationship, whatever dynamic it is, whether it's with a lover, a friend, someone in business, it's, do I feel like I'm giving my power away? And then when I am, then can I shift it? Right? Like then can I come into a place, like I recently had this happen with a woman friend of mine, where I was feeling resentful, that I was like, it's always about her. And I just was in this like about it. And then I recognized that I was putting her needs above mine. And she was receiving it. She was like, great, you're putting my needs first. Awesome. She wasn't going to tell me to do any different, right? She just was going to receive it. And so then I was like, I have to create a boundary. I have to respond differently. I have to honor when I am giving my own power away and take that responsibility and stop doing it, and that changed everything. When I took that responsibility of being like, okay, I'm not going to put her needs above mine in like a casual setting, right? If, emergency settings are different and they
are different. It's hard to know sometimes. I went to a retreat in Tulum recently, and Dr. Deb Kern was workshopping, and I wish if I'd prepared better, I would have had the name of the cards, but the cards, it's a deck of cards, and you hand them out to people, and on the cards it says, will you put my needs above yours and silence your whatever the question is. And the person you're asking, of course they're going to say, well, no. And so you practice saying no. And the cards teach you to set boundaries, but they also teach you what people are really asking you for. Like your friend is probably asking, will you put your needs above mine, my needs above yours? And if you heard the question asked in that way, you would definitely have no problem saying no. But when they kind of go in a different way that maybe historically you don't have a good pattern of recognizing, you just find out later that you've answered yes when you meant to say no. So these cards are really good at building boundaries and learning to say no, and really learning to realize what people are asking you when they're, can you pick up my kids and do this and this and this? And what they're really asking you is, will you give up whatever's important to you and to take care of my needs? And if they asked the question in that way, you would have no problem saying, well, no. But it's so subtle sometimes we miss it. And we are caregivers and we are lovers and we want to help people. And so we have a problem.
Yeah. And so how can we do that? Like, how can we be generous and giving? And at the same time, like for me, the marker is when I feel like I'm giving my power away, then I make the shift, right? It's like when I feel like I am not choosing to contribute my time or do someone a favor, or then I feel resentful or whatever. So for me, that's like the inner signal of, I feel that my needs, because it's easy, I was the rescuer in my family growing up. And so it's easy for me to fall into that default of putting everyone's needs above mine.
Mm-hmm.
Although, of course, it's shifted in the decades that I've been working on this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so the question was how you recognize, was that the question? How do you recognize when someone is coming over into your sacred space? And then how do you build a boundary around it?
Right. Yeah.
And I guess we all have different triggers, and it's good that you have that strong one, when you feel like you're giving your power away.
Yeah.
For me, I'm a really emotional. I'm an ENFP, so I get emotional and I find myself really mad, or mostly mad. Like I said, I have a strong rebel archetype, so I just get really pissy, and then I think, okay, this is a message. What is this telling me? I need to have a better boundary with that person, or not. Choose not to be in that atmosphere. And one thing that you helped me with was challenging myself to make relationships with stronger women, because and it sounds like you still struggle with that, which is probably why you were such a good teacher for me, is that choosing women who are stronger than I am and who are capable, because I'm often, except in my desert hippie chick environment, all those women are strong and amazing and badasses. But I don't live there anymore. And so I go all around the place. And a lot of times women attach to me who, oh, I want you to take me on a trip, or let's go, I want to learn mountain biking. And so I end up attracting sometimes, or in the past have attracted women who were wanting the flow to go mostly towards them. They wanted to have the life I had, but they just wanted me to take them on the adventure, and I'm not helping anyone by taking them on an adventure that they didn't have any part in creating and sustaining. And so that was a good lesson for me, to learn that I'm not helping the women. That's my question. Am I helping her by doing this, or am I enabling her to not find her wild woman, not find her adventure woman? She's never going to find her if I'm the one. I'm happy to go out, but you better buck up. You better carry some water. You better roll out your own damn sleeping bag and set up your own tent, because otherwise I'm a facilitator, and it's not what my path is.
Right. Unless they hire you for adventure life coaching, right? Like, unless they hire you, but at the same time, your job is to help them find their power in that, right? To be able to, teach them how to go camping for the first time, or to mountain bike, whatever. Yes, and then, of course, if you're in a client coach relationship, of course, then it is different, where you are supporting them. But at the same time, as coaches, we need to be able to help someone find their power in whatever we're working on with.
Right. Because I had a lot of instances where the women, one of my clients, who is a really strong client, she came out just really strong, and she said, you know what you need to tell these women when you get them on the river and we're going through a rapid in a kayak for the very first time, and they're kind of, complaining or wanting you to take over, is like, you did not sign up for basket weaving. And I'm like, that is my mission statement for my business. You signed up to be a badass wild woman, and if you're not ready to show up, I'll show you whatever, and I'll be there with you, and I will help you learn how to do it. But you didn't sign up for basket weaving, and it's not going to be easy, and neither is self-growth easy. Whenever I get a new client, the first thing I do is congratulate them. It is such scary, hard work to take that first step, to go on an adventure or to open up and say, what could I be doing differently? And it is really hard, but golly, the benefits are just amazing. I just got this trill through my whole center. And I said that because my coaching clients, I'm just so filled up by watching them blossom into whoever they want to be. It doesn't have to be a badass river chick. It could be you want to sit on the floor and play with your kids more. And why is that not happening? And,
Right.
you know, coaching helps with all of that.
Yeah, and especially for women, for us to simply just get in touch with the power of our desire, whatever that is, right?
Exactly.
To speak our mind at a parent-teacher conference, or to ask, our partners for what we want sexually, or to say no to our children, or to, go climb the highest mountain, right? There's a huge spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
But for so many women in our culture and community, it's like peeling back the layers of the good girl and getting to our desires and being willing to ask, first of all, know what we want, ask for what we want, create boundaries around it. Like, that's courageous work. However, whatever the form it shows up in our lives, there's so many things that have been programmed into our consciousness since we were born.
Right.
We were born.
And I grew up in a very patriarchal society where if you're not attractive and obedient, you basically had no value in the society. Well, that never ever, that chafed. I tried, but it chafed. And so I think if you, as a woman, see somebody out in the world who's living the life you want, go get them. Like, that is your resonation. That is what is telling you, this is part of who I am. Yeah. And I need more of this. I need to be around her, and I need to be doing what she's doing. So, and it may not be adventure. For some people who are too adventurous, they need to find a way to go inward more. And we all have different stuff, but whatever woman you see that is really, or even if it's Frida Kahlo, who isn't with us anymore in the earth plane, find somebody like her, find an artist, find somebody who dresses funky and get into it, and, be that person, and find a woman who resonates with that for you, and ask her how she does it and what to do and how you can get there, because life is so short. I mean, what if we only have 10 more years on the planet? Yeah. What if we never found, because I'll tell you what, ladies, when you start rowing your kayak or paddling your kayak, rowing a boat, riding a horse, traveling to places you're totally uncomfortable with, there's somebody watching you, and you're going to inspire them. And we all need to do that for each other, because the feminine is rising. The lunar eclipse going over the sun, that's female energy covering up the male. There's all of this water, that is, it's all feminine. Like, our feminine energy needs to be expressed, not in destructive ways like flood. But sometimes that has to happen to have rebirth. So get mad and do your stuff, whatever you want to do.
Yes. Yeah. And I think that the small ways that we can support other women in shining, like, I think that there's a way that supporting other women who are shining. Like, if you see a woman who's like, I actively look for ways that I can compliment women in public in authentic and to just like give her a big smile or whatever, just to like cheer for women. Of course, women I know, like you, and I'm totally cheering for you and the things that you're working on, and that, but also in public, how can I do that in ways that support other women, that are like, high five for you wearing, purple and, cow patterns or whatever, just rocking her beard. And how can we support each other in doing that, and in the silent ways that we can support each other as wild women to express our wild. And for some women that might be, a corporate woman wearing black nail polish, or, knows, like, it's
having naughty underwear under her clothes. I mean, there are plenty of ways to, like, you're in a rebel flyer freak flag, and nobody has to know but you. Yeah. But it's nice when we can see that in other women. It supports us. It makes us say, oh, there you are. Like I recognize you. I know who you are. And the women who I go to the bank sometimes in my small town. One time I remember I was working on the fence, having a fence built. Had a trailer full of wire and gates and all kinds of flatbed trailer behind my truck. And I went into the bank and I had a yoga top on, blue jeans, and my jeans were stuck in my cowboy boots. And I had to go sign some papers at the bank. And this woman came up to me and gave me the up and down and said, "Are you going running in your cowboy?" Just started being real snippy. And I'm just like, wow, that's not my woman. You know, that's not, she's very challenged and afraid. And so there are plenty of women who really want to live their full life and have no fear, and who want to buck the patriarchy. They want to get away from it. And that's another thing you taught me is those are my people. Like you don't want to, you want to say fuck it to the people you're trying to fit into a box. I can't be contained in a box. You can't fit me into some stereotype that you're comfortable with. I'm me, and whatever that is. And I can't tell you because I don't even know. I know parts of me, and I'm having a really good time learning what all the rest of it is.
Yeah. And I think that's a great example of when to say fuck it, right? Is like that woman being the opposite of supportive, right? Like that's a woman that's so, from my perspective, so bought into the patriarchy that she's threatened by your wildness. And she's trying to contain it. So, you know, being able in that situation to create a boundary of fuck it, I'm not taking that on. And, you know, to just be like, boom, no, thank you. I'm not interested in that perspective. You know, and that's a key time to say fuck it. And then finding those women who, you know, are expressing their wildness in ways that are different than ours, right? Like how can we as women support each other in discovering and expressing our wildness? Because as you said a few minutes ago, that's going to look different for each of us.
Yeah.
Our wildness is, there's such a huge spectrum of expressing our wildness. I do want to share one other story about one way that recently, like I was pushing forward with this Phoenix project about supporting women, a book and podcast and video series and all this stuff. And I've been working on it for the last 3 months, and it was feeling really difficult. And I was feeling like I was trudging through mud that was slowly getting, you know, and at the same time, there's so much inspiration for this project of supporting women and sharing their unspoken truths, and, you know, inspiring other women to make it through challenging times and sharing our heroine's journey and all this stuff. So it was like, there was a part of me that was getting stuck and hung up and it was feeling really difficult. But then another part of me is like, this needs to happen. This needs to happen. And so I kept being in this, like, should I say fuck it and let it go? Or like, is there something that needs to shift? And just in the last few days, you know, I've been really sitting with like, do I need to just let go of this project? Do I just need to let it go and let something else be reborn? You know, to let the phoenix burn to the ground and maybe not be born into something else. But in that process of being willing to say fuck it, because I feel like for several of those months I wasn't willing to. I was like, no, I gotta keep this alive. And so I wasn't even willing to explore the possibility of saying fuck it. And so then this past week I've been like, do I need to let this go? Do I need to turn my attention to some other project? And in that willingness to surrender it and to say willingness to say fuck it if that's the best thing, then boom, 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 all of these things shifted. And so then it's like, okay, the phoenix is moving forward. There are key shifts that are happening in that project. But that for me was one of those examples, but I had to be willing to even consider, is fuck it the best thing? And then the answer was no, yet these 3 or 4 key shifts in the project need to happen. So that for me was like, oh, now it feels like, okay, things have opened up in an enormous way, which, what a relief.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had similar experiences to that. When in my small patriarchal town, I thought if they just knew better, they would do better. If they just knew. So I opened up an art gallery, massage, yoga, cooking, all kinds of cool stuff. Really great shop, which wasn't a good fit for me, by the way, because I'm not a brick and mortar girl. But I didn't realize that at the time. I got so carried away with my creativity. But I realized, and they were really full on support for the project. Yeah, that'd be so cool to have that here. but not wanting to spend their money. And it takes money to keep brick and mortars open. So what I was willing to let go, and the solution showed up miraculously because you can only lose what you're attached to. So
Right.
what you cling to is the only thing you can lose. If you're willing to be open to the possibility of letting it go, then solutions start happening because you lose your attachment and you see it from a different perspective of distance, and then it becomes the answers become more clear, and you become more certain in your steps.
Yes, which you sharing that and just feeling this whole conversation, which of course is meant to contribute, of course, to our community, but also one of the things that just opened for me and you sharing that piece was that there is a way of exploring going into Fukkit is what opens what's next, right?
Yeah.
Like going into that place of like, okay, fuck it. I'm willing to let it go. I'm willing to surrender. I'm willing to put it in the compost pile or whatever. The same thing with the story I just shared as well. Like I was trying to keep something alive, but I was like, okay, fuck it. I'm willing to let the thing dissolve. And then in that process of surrender and in that exploration of fuck it, then it will either, dissolve into the soil and become something new, or we will get instructions on, like for me with the Phoenix Project, is like now it's much more clear, like the things that needed to be tweaked, the reasons I was getting hung up were revealed to me, but I had to go to, okay, fuck it first to get there.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you've ever noticed in relationships, romantic relationships, if you're the needy one, nobody wants to know part of that. But once you go, you know what, I could take you or leave you, then they become interested in seeing what it's going to take to keep you happy.
Yes.
And why is that? Because you can only lose what you cling to. So I think it's all kind of a dance. You have to be willing to release and not cling and become unattached before you can see it. And that's, I'm saying that kind of in a flippant manner, but there's a lot of hard work around that, as you and I both know.
Yeah.
To say and fuck it, and to kind of backing away from some things that you couldn't ever imagine success being defined without that for yourself. And then, there's some big shifts that don't involve that. Your success doesn't involve those things that you thought were so integral to success. And that's the hard work. And then more freedom and more light and more movement comes after that. And you don't know what's going to come.
Yeah, and our identity can get so wrapped up in it. Like there was a part of me, like part of why I was clinging to this project was like I put it out there in the world and I've involved other women in it. So like my identity, who I am, was wrapped up in this project. Like I have to make this work because otherwise I'm a failure. And so for me, it was like being willing to be like, oh, well. And I think that with all the changes that are happening in the world, we're being called more and more into that, is to like set down the bullshit, set down the mask, be willing to let go of who we think we are. Like, I just feel like there's, especially in my life in the last year, there's been less room for me to bullshit myself, and I'm like a bullshit detector. But there's still ways in which
with other people.
Yes, exactly. I'm much better at it with other people. So, but in my own life, it's been like the mirror has been turned on me, and I'm seeing the ways in which I need to set down the mask, set down the identities, let go of my ideas of what I need to be doing. And it's happening much more quickly. And I just think that's with the intensity of what's happening in the world, there is that calling to, am I really committed to what's in alignment and willing to let things go at any moment, which is hard to do. As humans, we cling to things, and whew.
And I think it's real. To be real is really more important to me than as a coach. You think you feel like you have something to live up to. Like I've got to have my shit together all the time. Fuck that, because my life is. That's what I'll say fuck it to.
Yeah.
Fuck me be perfect and having to have my life together all the time. I actually had someone say to me recently, because I have a setback with a physical injury, a traumatic injury, and someone actually said to me, you need to get your shit together because you're usually really inspiring to people and empowering to women, and you're just not being that right now. I know, right? And I had to let that go, and it went really quickly. I was just like, whoa. But I think it's because I'm okay with being real. I'm okay with, listen, my life kind of sucks right now. I'm really uncomfortable and things suck, and that doesn't mean I'm a failure. And even if it is could be seen as a failure, failure is only a step towards something else. And so, you know, you're right. We have to drop that mask, that identity. Like, I have to have the perfect yoga practice because I'm a yoga teacher. I have to be Zen, and I'm a Pitta fire girl, and I am not Zen most of the time. I mean, I'm not one of those people, those woo-woo people, and those people drive me crazy. Those are not my people.
Yeah.
But I love them, but that's not who inspires me to be more of myself. So I actually, when I was at yoga school, I told the teacher, I said, I don't really want to be a yoga teacher. And she said, why? And I said, because I like to drink and party and fuck. And I just don't feel like that's like a real great example for yoga students. And she went, I feel the same way. And I went, oh, good. Okay. So then it was all right. Then I could be me and still be a yoga teacher. So yeah, put down your mask of who you think you have to be, because that's so limiting. And that's something we do to ourselves. Like, I can talk about, you know, the patriarchal society I grew up in, but what I've taken on and those things I put on myself to be perfect, or to be too much this, too much that, fuck that. Don't do it. Don't do it to yourself. Set down the mask, say, that was fun for this, but it didn't work out for me, and just keep moving.
Yes. Yeah. I love that. What you just said about fuck it, the ideas, you know, that like you have, because you're a coach and a healer and a massage therapist, a yoga teacher, myself as well, that I have to live this perfect life. And, you know, what I would say is the person, you know, the person that said to you, oh, you're not doing this, empowering women, I would say, fuck that. You crashing on your bike is not a failure. It's like you being an adventure woman. Like,
exactly.
Hello.
I see it. Yeah. No.
Right?
This
like,
is my 16th bone I've broken. Yeah. 16. And 6 concussions in my life.
Oh my God.
So, you know, I want to say, fuck it. I know I'm going to be fine after this. And I was doing what I love to do. And I'm not someone who really focuses on punishment. I'm blessed in that way. I have a friend I've been talking to recently, and she said, oh, punishment is my highest motivation. I'll do anything not to be in the, you know, in the wrong, and not feel like I'm going to get punished. I said, I have never really suffered from that.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I suffer from other things, many other things, but that particular thing, I don't. I'm ready to have a good time and take, you know, the tiger by the tail and suffer the consequences later.
Right.
So, and I'm still.
Well, that's a clear, you know, distinction that people focus on. Like, she's clearly an away from pain person, right? Where you are more motivated towards pleasure. Right? Like, even though it's all the same movement, we're all moving towards pleasure. She's motivated by not getting punished, where you're motivated by, I want to have fun and what's the best possible outcome. And I'm the same way. And in the beginning of my coaching career, like when I would speak to someone on the phone, a potential client, once I got that training, before I got that training, I would be like, oh my gosh, because you can hear it in people's, the way they talk about it is like, they are motivated by moving away from pain. And I would want to change them.
Yeah.
Until I learned that. And then it was like, oh, that's just their framework. That's just their paradigm. They're not broken. They're just how they motivate themselves. And there are those of us who are more motivated by, I want to feel good. I want to be motivated by pleasure. So it's interesting to see different people's paradigm in that regard.
No, when you get to be such a geek about the human psyche, I mean, I'm just like a little, like, I just want to dig in and I just want to know people and I want to find out what makes them tick. That's like my best conversation. Yeah. And I'm so happy you called me, because I'm not a small talker. I don't like to have conversations about fashion and, you know, whatever else people talk about. I want to talk about real stuff. So I love it you asked me to do this today, because this is just right up my alley.
Awesome. Well, I am so glad that you're willing to jump on last minute with me. So I thank you so much. This has been awesome. I would love to do this again.
Okay.
And so one closing wisdom bomb that you want to share with our viewers.
My favorite thing to tell people is, you know, life sure is fun and sometimes it hurts a little. And that's not a reason to say fuck it.
Right.
It's a reason to just keep on going and having fun and be who you are.
Yeah.
Don't let it slow you down.
Awesome. And let's see, the wisdom bomb that I want to share, the wisdom bomb that I received from this conversation is, if we feel stuck in a project or relationship or something, how quickly can you go into the place of being willing to say fuck it or surrender, whatever word you feel most comfortable with? Because to me, that's where the next thing opens, is either setting down the project or a new pathway opening in the relationship.
And I have to say that what I've taken away from coaching and what I've taken away from working with you is it helps so much to just have the reinforcement and the platform to talk to a coach and to get input from someone who has your highest interest at heart. It really is just so freeing, and just you'll get to be yourself, and you'll be fully supported in that journey and not judged. And coaching is just the most amazing thing for when you are stuck. That's when you're stuck. Oh, here's my bomb. When you're stuck, it's probably because you need to say fuck it about something.
About something. Okay, well, that is the wisdom. That's the perfect wisdom bomb to complete our broadcast today. Well, Sally, thank you so much for joining me. And thank you all for being here. Feel free to post comments or questions below, and we will get back to you. Sending you off with blessings. We'll see you next time.